Hello, my name is Alex Owari from ONG Tax and Accounting Services. I'm a CPA licensed in Massachusetts and Colorado. I focus very heavily on international taxes. I provide tax compliance and consulting services to multinational clients and non-resident aliens on tax implications on their U.S. operations. I also provide tax guidance on a wide range of international tax matters relating to cross-border tax issues. And finally, I provide clients with U.S. federal income tax consideration as it relates to foreign persons' activities in the U.S. or U.S. persons' activities outside the United States. In this course, we're going to teach you or show you how to successfully complete and request for a U.S. Residency Certification Form 6166 for multiple years by completing Form 8802. So Form 8802 is the application form. It is what you would use to get the Form 6166 U.S. Residency Certification. In this case, we're going to take a look at how you can request for multiple years on one Form 8802. Now, to be able to complete Form 8802 and request for multiple year certification, there are certain requirements you need to follow or certain requirement that you need to be aware of and also be able to meet that requirement just so that we are on the same page. It is required that the applicant must be a domestic corporation or U.S. LLC that have elected to be treated as a corporation with a calendar year ending December 31. It must also be a domestic corporation requesting for U.S. residency certification for tax year 2022 and 2023 using a single 8802 form. It must be a domestic corporation requesting for residency certification to avoid or reduce withholding tax on income from certain foreign countries, generally with U.S. treaty partners. And then finally, you must be a domestic corporation that files your own 1120 return. It must not be a corporation that files a consolidated return with a parent corporation. Let's look at when to apply for 2022 and 2023 U.S. Residency Certification using the same Form 8802. Now, to apply for the certification for both tax years, you must apply on or after December 1, 2022. So if you applied it before December 1, 2022, IRS may only issue 2022 certificate and will reject your 2023 certificate. So 2022 may not be a problem if you're applying before this date, before December 1. But if you want to include 2023 in your certification, you must apply on or after December 1, 2022. Now, you are applying on or after December 1, 2022 because of the need for the 2023 certification. Otherwise, if you're just applying for 2022 certification, you can skip this video. This video is not for you. This video is basically capturing those that wants the multiple certification on the same Form 8802. Now, you must have filed your 2021 corporate return on or before December 1, 2022 prior to requesting for the certification for these multiple years. You must also ensure that 2021 corporate return is filed and processed by the IRS. If you're applying between December 1, 2022 through April 14, 2023. The logic is very simple. It is assumed that by December 1, you should have already filed your 2021 return, right? But then between these dates, December 1 to April 14, it's assumed that your 2022 return is not due yet and has not been filed. And that's why we need the 2021 return to be filed. Now, you must also ensure that 1, your 2021 return is filed, and 2, your 2022 corporate return is either filed or on valid extension. Only if you are applying on or after April 15, 2023. Again, the logic here is that if you are applying on April 15, 2023, it is assumed that your 2021 is already filed. But then what about 2022? Now your 2022 tax return is actually due on April 15, but you can extend it. So if there is no valid extension, you must make sure that you have actually filed your corporate return for 2022 to be able to get the 2023 certification. Once again, if you do this on the same 8802 and you haven't filed or put your 2022 extension, and you're applying on or after April 15, 2023, there's possibility that you will only get the 2022 certification, but you're not going to get the 2023 certification. So if you're applying on or after April 15, make sure, one, your 2021 return is filed to be able to receive the 2022 certificate. And then the 2022 return also needs to be filed or be on extension to be able to receive the 2023 certificate. So I hope the logic is simple enough. Now, what is the importance of the U.S. residency certification? It is the official way to prove to a foreign country or a foreign payer that you are a U.S. taxpayer and a resident for tax treaty benefit. They are also required to provide proof of U.S. residency to avoid withholding on the income earned from a foreign country. Many payers or most payers from certain countries such as Poland, Spain, Russia, Germany, UK, Ireland, Netherlands, Belgium, France, etc. I mean, these are basically those treaty partners that we have. There's a whole lot more. If you look into the IRS guidelines and publication, you would see a lot more countries that the US have tax treaty, double taxation treaty agreement with. So this list here is not all inclusive, but just to give you some common examples of countries that usually like requesting for these certificates. So these countries may require this certification prior to making payment to a US person or entity. Now, it could be the foreign government itself or someone or a private company that's trying to make payment to you. Now, in summary, you will need an original US certificate of residency in order to avoid paying withholding tax in that foreign country where the payment is coming from. Now, so because the purpose of this video is to prepare a 2023 US residency certification application to avoid or reduce withholding income tax from certain foreign countries, it is good that I talk to you about what cases payers from foreign countries may require this certification. Now, this is required to avoid withholding on the following types of income. So it could be wages and pension, income received as a performer, artist, entertainer, or even athlete. Income received from performing services. So if you perform any kind of services such as teaching courses or performing, developing software, providing consulting services, you fall into this category. It could also be withholding on payout on a foreign investment. They may also require it. So this list above is not all inclusive. Now let's look at the user fee payment options. Now the current user fee is $185 for corporations. You may make payment by check or money order, or you could also go to the pay.gov website and enter IRS sets in the search box, which we're going to show you very soon. Once the payment is successful, you will be able to see the confirmation page showing similar information below. So once you're able to pay through the pay.gov, and to be honest with you, I would suggest that you make the payment through pay.gov before completing these forms. There is an option to make payment by check or money order, but I prefer the pay.gov option. So you pay it in advance. On the final page of this payment portal, you're going to get this confirmation IDs. And this confirmation agency tracking ID is the most important that you should keep track of. Okay, so now let's see how the payment works. So first you go to pay.gov. You go to pay.gov and then you type in IRS sets and then you search. And then once you're here, this is it. IRS sets certifications. So you click on continue to the form, and then applicant name. So here applicant name that we're going to be using is Pantry for Paws Inc. Okay, and the applicant is not an individual, so we will check this side. And then here we're going to type in the EIN number. So we've entered the EIN number here. You're going to type in the person that's submitting this form. So in this case, I'm the one submitting it, Alex Awari. And then you will just type in your email address. So I'll use info@ONG, and then I'll use my phone number, 918-928-58. Right? So you have the submitter's name, the email address, the contact phone, and then the fee information. Here, you are applying for 2023 certification. It does not matter how many copies you want for that specific year. You're just going to type in one here because you're just doing one form. The price is going to populate for you, $185. It's going to ask you, click here if it's a supplement payment. If you've been contacted to make supplement payment, then you click here. But if you're just filling this for the first time, then there's no need to click here. And then check here if name and address is the same as the billing information. So you can check if this is applicable to you. So all that you have to do after you've done this is to continue the process. Now, I'm not going to continue all the way to the end because I don't want to pay. But it's going to ask you if you want to pay by debit or credit card. You follow the prompt, you review, and then you go to confirmation. Now, once the payment is done, this is a confirmation that you're going to see. This confirmation here. And what is important on the confirmation page is the agency tracking ID. So make sure you have that when you're done paying. Make sure you've copied this number because that's what you're going to use on the 8802 form. Alright, so now that the payment has been made, let's go through these forms and show you how to complete and request for 2022 and 2023 certification using the same or a single Form 8802. The latest revision for 8802 is November 2018. So when you download them from the IRS website, make sure you have the latest version, which is November 2018. I mean, if you're watching this in the future, there might have been some changes. So always make sure that you're going to the IRS website and finding the most recent forms. And I can show you real quick. All right. So to find the most recent form, you just type in on Google, 8802. Okay. And then once you type in and you see this, go to About. Don't click on this one. Click on that one here, About. And then go under current revision. You have the Form 8802 and then you have the instructions. So you just have to click here and then you download it and then you continue filling up the form. So we're going to go through the forms and how to fill it out completely for the 2023 certification. Okay, so if you're applying for the 2023 certification, the first thing you need to do is to copy and paste the agency tracking ID from pay.gov if you paid it electronically. So you're going to copy it and paste it here. Here I have the applicant's name, Pantry for Paws Inc. Applicant US tax ID number. So this is going to be your EIN. You put it here. This is not an individual request. This is a corporation. So these two boxes will be blank. Line 1. If the applicant's name and the taxpayer number on the certificate is different from above, then you put that name and the EIN number. But in this case, we are using the company that we use to file the tax return, the company that the payers are requesting us to provide certification for. That's what we're using. And if there's not been any change of name or change in EIN, we're still continuing to use that same company to request for the certification. So line 1 generally is going to be blank. There's no need to complete that. Line 2, applicant's address during the calendar year. So this line 2, usually you would put the same address that you use for your tax returns, for the most current tax return. Because we're requesting for certification 2023 and it's 2022 now, it assumed that 2021 tax return is already filed. So you will look on your 2021 tax return and look at the address you use, and that's what you're going to put here because the IRS is going to cross-reference and make sure they are all correct. 3A asks where you want to mail the 6166 certification to. Now, the 6166 certification is actually the certificate, the final result that the IRS is going to send you to send it to your payers. You can choose any address that you want it to be delivered. It can be delivered to your attorney, it can be delivered to your CPA, or it could be delivered to any address that you feel comfortable with providing. It does not have to be the same as line 2. You can provide any address here. Appointees information. The purpose of this video is to teach you how to do it yourself. So you don't need this side. You don't need appointee's name. However, if you fall into a situation where you think you need a power of attorney, you could always hire a CPA or an attorney to be your power of attorney, and then these forms will be delivered to them. If you want me to be your power of attorney, you could always reach out to me. We will strike an agreement and probably charge you to be your power of attorney, and then I'll help you out with the process. Line 4, we're dealing with a corporation, so you will check the corporation box on E. Don't do anything else here. Most of this will not apply to you, so you just check E and then move on. Now, on the second page, make sure that you've entered the applicant's name, because this is what IRS is going to use to identify the company that's applying for this, because it's a continuation of this form. Line 5, you're going to check the appropriate box for the form filed. So this line wants to know the kind of tax return this company files. And in this case, we file 1120 corporate tax forms, which is form 1120 for corporations, C corporations, or LLCs that have elected to be a corporation. Line 6, you only complete line 6 if you've checked line 5 is no. We did not check no here, so line 6 is not important for us. So on line 7, you're going to state the calendar year for which the certification is being requested. First of all, you need this certification for 2 years. You need it for 2022 and 2023. So you must state them here on line 7. When you go to line 8, it's going to ask you tax period upon which this certification will be based on. Now, if you're applying for this certification on December 1, 2022, then it is assumed that you've already completed your 2021 return. So the 2021 is what they are going to use to approve your 2022 and 2023 certification. In the earlier slides, I talk about different dates that you need to keep in mind and what needs to be done. For example, if you are applying for this certification between December 1, 2022 to April 15, 2023, you must make sure that the 2021 return is filed. If you are applying on or after April 15, 2023, you must make sure that your 2022 return is actually on extension or has been filed. So in that case, if you're applying on April 15, 2023 and you've already filed your return, then you put in 2022-12 here. But if you have not filed your return by April 15, 2023 and you've put your tax return on extension, then you're still going to maintain the 2021 because you have not filed the 2022 yet. However, if you're applying on or after April 15, 2023 and you haven't filed your 2022 return, the IRS is going to cross-check for 2 things. They're going to cross-check if you filed your 2021 return, and then secondly, they will also cross-check whether you filed an extension for 2022. So if 2022 shows an extension, that is what will trigger them to issue you a 2023 certification. And then line 9, we are requesting for the certification for income tax withholding. Now, line 10 requires you to provide additional penalties of perjury statement. So you're going to type them in this box and you're going to state everything that we've said here. And because you are applying for 2022 and 2023 certification, you have to provide this statement. So look at this statement here. You're going to mention the name of the company that's applying. You're going to state the EIN, and then you state that it's a U.S. corporation that's incorporated in the state of Delaware. It does not have to be Delaware. It could be any of the states you've incorporated in. So you need to edit this to fit your situation. And then you would also state that the company will continue to be a resident throughout the current year 2022 and the following year 2023. Now, this certification is given under penalties of perjury, and then you're going to state all of this in here. Now, once you're done, you sign it, you provide your name and your title. So you could be a CEO, a president, a director, whatever title you hold that puts you as a responsible party for these forms. You put it there. In our case, we are completing this form on December 1, 2022, because that is the earliest we can apply for the 2023 certification. And that's why we use December 1. You could apply for it anytime after December 1. That's fine. And you can request for any prior year certification that you need, including the future years. And then you put in your daytime phone number. Now, because we are applying for multiple years, you have to label your worksheet to the extent that it makes sense to the IRS or whoever is processing this to understand. So what I do is I create duplicate forms of this on page 3. I create 3 forms, 3 of this. And then the first form that I create for page 3, I'm going to label it as worksheet A. The second one is going to be worksheet B. And then the third one is not going to be labeled as anything. And then I will just put in my comment. So this consolidates everything that's on worksheet A and B. So I would tell the IRS agent to see the worksheet, because whatever you see here is the total of both worksheet A and B. So let's go ahead and look at worksheet A, what we did. So worksheet A is what we are using to request for 2022 certification. So when you get on page 3, the name of the company, the applicant EIN, and then the calendar year you're requesting. So you're going to state the numbers, the number of copies you need for each country. In this case, I said I need 10. For these countries, I need 2 each, which makes it 10. I did the same for this column, same for this column, same for here. So in this case, I have 40 copies. Now, once you're done, you go to worksheet B. Worksheet B is the 2023 certification. You do the same thing as we did for worksheet A, and you're going to put 2023 here. And then you do the same thing as we did. However, or how many copies you need, you're going to put them here. And then you're going to total them up. At the end of the day, I got 40. So we know worksheet A and B, 40 each. Now we're going to go to the main worksheet. This worksheet here, we've stated the name of the company, the EIN, and then we've stated the periods that we need. And we've also referred the IRS agent to look at the worksheet we have attached. So when you combine both sheets, you could see that we requested for 20 each, a combination of 2022 and 2023. We want 20 copies. Same here, 20 copies. Same, 20 copies. And then we get our total to be 80 copies that we need. Now you've successfully completed your Form 8802. You should be very proud of yourself. This is something that trips a lot of people out. And so if you've been able to follow the examples here and how it's being filled up, you are good to go. You can send it to the IRS and all is good. Now, where do you file these forms? Payment, you can pay by check or money order. So if you're paying by check or money order, you send it to the Department of Treasury. This address is here. And then you could also mail it by private delivery. So if you're using FedEx, DHL, and stuff like that, you could use this address. I'm recording this video in 2022. So if you're watching this in the future, make sure that the addresses are still current. And all you have to do is to go to Google Form 8802 instructions. And then the latest form instructions is going to tell you what the new addresses are. As I'm recording this video, these are the correct addresses to use if you're sending this by check or money order. Now, electronic payment. Now, if you made electronic payment, you just enter the agency tracking ID on page 1 of the Form 8802. You don't have to attach any check because you've already paid online. And then you made all the required forms to this addresses. Is the same as the address I showed you when you're sending by check or money order. I like the fax option. It is easy to fax it and it's easy to send it. Now, you must fax a cover sheet stating the number of pages included in the transmission. So here it gives you the address, the fax numbers that you need to use. If you're within the US, you use this fax number. If you are inside or outside of the US, you can also use this number. If you're watching this in the future, be sure to go into the instructions and make sure that these fax numbers are still valid. Alright, so let's look at a timeline for approval and tips to avoid delay. Now currently the processing time frame due to the peak season and how IRS is busy, it's 10 to 12 weeks. So if it's been more than 10 weeks and you have not heard back from the IRS, definitely give them a call. Call this number 267-941-1000 option 3 and ask for a status. The IRS also urges applicants to attach a copy of their tax return to help in the process. So when you attach a copy of your tax return, write this comment on the copy, do not process on the tax return. And then IRS says that they will accept a copy of the base return. For example, because we're dealing with 1120, they want the 6-page form for the most current tax return. So what I would do is, let's go through the dates again. If you're applying for 2022 and 2023 certification, the 1120 that the IRS requires you to send must be the most current return. So in this scenario, my suggestion is, if you are applying for this certification between December 1, 2022 to April 14, 2023, attach the 6-page form 1120 for 2021 tax return that you filed. Just attach it. It must be signed and then write a copy, do not process on the tax return. Second, if you are applying this certification on or after April 15, 2023, there are two things I want you to do. Attach the 2021 6-page 1120 copy and then write copy, do not process on the tax return. Also, if you haven't filed your 2022 return by April 15, make sure you have an extension and add the extension form, which is a form 7004. Also write on it, copy, do not process, to show them that you've actually filed an extension. If you're filing this on or after April 15 and you've already filed your 2022 return and you're requesting for multiple certification, number one, attach your 11/20/2021 6-page form, write a copy, do not process on the tax return. 2, if you've already filed your 2022 return on April 15, attach the 2022 6-page form 1120. Also write copy, do not process on that form and attach both to the certification forms. This makes it easy for the IRS to process your form. It is not generally required. If you believe that you filed all the forms and this additional steps is not needed, that's fine. But if you don't want the back and forth between you and the IRS, it's much better to send everything in at once and then you should be good to go. Now here's a sample of how the forms were completed, and you can pause this video and look at it once again. And then this is the other worksheets that we're going to show you real quick. So this is worksheet A and then worksheet B, and it should all be good. Now this is how the certifications looks like when it's approved. They usually come generic. These are some of the generic statement they put on the forms, and it will show the name of the taxpayer that's requesting for the certification. It will show your tax ID, and it will show the certification year that you're requesting. Certain countries like Russia and Spain, the IRS provides more information on the certification. But other countries, the IRS just provides a generic statement with regard to those forms. Alright, so this is the end of the course. I must say that if you're able to do this successfully, you must be very proud of yourself. Requesting for a multiple year certification gets complicated, but this is the most easiest way we can teach you on how to do it, and it works fine. If you like this course, please feel free to provide a review and spread the word. Tell your friends about it. Refer us if you need my services to help you complete these forms. I'm always available to help you. Thank you.